Hello and welcome to another edition of Tips Time with Josh Klyn. My name is Josh, and this is the third week now where I come out with a weekly tip on producing music. In particular, I produce electronic music. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years, so I thought it would be really cool to have a channel where I go over weekly tips, things that I'm learning along the way as I grow in producing electronic music. If you have any further questions about what exactly this channel is about, please go to the first video that I uploaded because that's a really good video where I kind of introduced the whole idea behind why I started this channel, and I think it would answer probably a lot of the questions that you have. Last week I went over the first part one of workflow management when you're producing music, when you're producing electronic music, and being organized, staying on track with the production of your song. And the biggest tool, the tip of the week, was really the template that I have here that I've been using now for over a year. And I went over the first two folders, which you can see if you go to the last video I uploaded last week. And I took so long on the not finishing on the not finished folder just because there's a lot in here that I haven't gone over the other two. So the first folder we'll be going over this video is the loops folder, which is a pretty self-explanatory one. And I actually don't have any loops in this one because for this year, I really made it a point of the moment I get anything going with a track, I want to make sure I finish it. So and you'll understand why that would mean I have no loops in a second. The loops folder is essentially a good resource. It's a good tool to use to kind of salvage your producing sessions when you aren't able to come out with a full song. Not that you need to, and I don't mean to make that sound like you need to come out with a full song in one session because that's mostly never the case unless you've been doing this for like 20 years. But essentially what you need is a tool to kind of salvage when you've made part of a track, but you don't have that it factor. It just doesn't feel like a track. You have a good, solid, layered loop, but it's just not a track on its own. And the reason you have this folder with your loops in it is if you get to a phase where you're collaborating with different artists or you're collaborating with different producers or what have you, you can use your loops folder just to kind of get that creativity going. So let's say you get together with another producer or someone that has great vocals for a track, but they don't have any beat. You know, maybe they have that it factor, but they need that supporting cast. They need a loop, a good loop. Well, you can kind of play around and trial all the loops that you've made. You know, it's a great tool to have. It not only helps you salvage your sessions, like I said, but then it turns out to be a great resource if you're collaborating with other artists and you kind of just want to like throw ideas together, see maybe what sticks, see what flows well. I highly recommend having a loops folder in your workflow template. The other folder here is kind of like a miscellaneous folder. And this is needed in any kind of workflow template because not everything's going to be track related. You know, if this is my producing workflow folder, so there's stuff obviously directly related to tracks, but if you know anything about producing, you also know you need to be able to get it out there. What is your reach like to people when you're getting your music heard? And it's also anything else that's related to producing or related to music that you might want to have in there. So I have my DJ sets here, all the sets that I've made and uploaded to SoundCloud. I can put my link to my SoundCloud in the description below if you're interested in just hearing like what kind of electronic music I'm into, what do my DJ sets sound like. So you can click on that link and check those out. The media promotion is just, that's just another example, right? So this YouTube channel, that's basically what this is. So I'm growing my media promotion section. but it's just the other folder is a great tool, and it's something that I think you need to have in a workflow template, because not everything's going to be directly related to your track. You need to kind of have that miscellaneous, it could be something that's kind of related. Maybe you have maybe you have names and titles of different people that you're working with right now here. So, maybe you have your schedule here. So there's endless ideas that you could go with it. So that finishes up the template. And to finish off the video, I have a couple more minutes here. I try to keep these videos under 8 minutes long, so they're concise. You can get your tip and then use that. So I'll take you to this track here. And if we're on the topic of workflow, if we're on the topic of organizing and staying on track with the progress of your songs, I'm going to talk about the different views in Ableton. And here is session view. And most DAWs have one or another form of, different views that you can use. But you have your session view, which I don't really use a whole lot of. But what I've gathered, and obviously anyone that is listening to this and knows more about the session view, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you use it for, just because in my experience, I haven't been able to use it that effectively. What I've gathered online, though, is that it's a great tool for experimenting, kind of like a loop selection, like what I talk about in the very first tip that I came out with when I started this channel, was the time that we spend in the loop and how much time is too much time, and etc. But that's what I've read about the session view, is that it's a great tool for experimenting, and it's a great tool for kind of generating ideas. But in terms of workflow, being organized, and staying on track, I find the arrangement view works much better for myself. I just find that it's a lot, it pays off to be able to see the macro view of it, to kind of just be able to zoom out and see everything, see it take shape. And the tip of the week that I would give for this, on top of finishing the template, this is I wouldn't say that this video is characteristic of most of my videos. Most of my videos I have one tip, but this is kind of more of a general thing. But I would say that working out of the arrangement view keeps you on track more with your sessions. In particular, when you start on a track, it's really important. And the tip that if I could centralize this video on one tip, it would be to get one portion of your track done in that one session. Just so you can have that template, just so you can have that skeleton of a track to kind of build the body around. That's really important. So for example, I just got the kick done and out of the way. I have it planned out, the verse, the bars, chorus, breakdown, verse, chorus, breakdown, all that, right? So it's really great to just get that out of the way. And then after that, you can kind of just line everything up. Okay, you have some percussion here. Okay, then you can start building in the modulation for your synthesizer melody, all that stuff. So obviously this track isn't done, but I just wanted to pull it up because it's a good example of when you start off a track and how it can look a little bare to start, but it's just really important to get that first portion of the track done, planned out, and then things start to take shape a little bit more. Each session you can try and work on a different part to try and plan that out. Once you do start with a part, though, it's really important to not just leave it hanging around. Make sure you have purpose with your actions, and make sure you plan it out. Can't emphasize that enough, because it really helps you kind of just encapsulate where you're headed with it, what's needed, what's still needed in the track, what have you taken care of, all of that. And then you, of course, update your what's next text file, right? Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think of the video. If you have any comments or feedback, I really appreciate you tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week with my next weekly tip. Okay, see you later.